Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Any questions from the last class? Anything? Okay, some.
What is your father's name?
Okay. So some announcements.
Yes.
25th to 1st, first actually, I won't be taking any classes. I'm going on a vacation. I don't know if it is called vacation in this pandemic time, but yes. So 25th to 1st, so I will start taking classes from the week of 2nd November. Okay, any questions you have which I can tackle before we start with the new topic?
If we would practice some practical problems,
Can you repeat, please?
sir, when we would be able to practice some practical problems.
Last four classes. Okay, so there are two more topics I will cover. Today K-means clustering, then principal component analysis, and then support vector machine. And after that, I believe we will have 4 to 5 hours to look at some practical problems, some R coding, and you can also do Python coding on your own. The coding is not the choice of language is not a criteria. You just need to understand how it works and apply. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So that would come somewhere around mid of start of November, I believe. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start. Can you see my screen? Okay. So far, as we are progressing, kind of do this every class to you so that you know how you are moving from supervised to unsupervised. Table we have seen is supervised clustering. When I say supervised, you know what is your target variable is. Now from supervised, now we are moving to unsupervised. So supervised, I will just revise. Supervised, we have learned regression and classification. Now we will start looking at clustering and unsupervised technique. So let's say you work for an online retailing and your boss wants to identify different group of customers such that a customized marketing strategies for each of these segments can be created. Something like the surgical shopper, the enthusiast shopper, etc. How do you go about it? So there is a distinction that we need to make. Like in the last two classes, when we looked at discriminant analysis and logistic regression, we were kind of classifying objects. When I say classifying objects, it has been told to us that there are apple and oranges. But in the case of clustering, this is not told to us. Just some random data is thrown to us and we need to find out what are different clusters into it. And based on the features, maybe you will be able to give some names to it. One such classical example, which I work a lot on, predictive maintenance. What happens? Machine data is available to you. All you know is at this time machine was running fine and at this time there was a breakdown. So how did really machine progress from a very healthy state to a failure stage? So you could have different kind of sensor reading, vibration sensor, can have electrical sensor, you can have speed sensors. All these sensors will give you some data. But most of the industrial data, at least which what I have worked with and or what you might have faced it, there are not labels onto it. Labels means that okay, this is my healthy state, this is my fair state, this is my good state, or this is my bad state. All I know is these are the sensor data, figure out. Okay, so this is where classification and clustering, is separated. When we talk about k-means clustering, although it is not completely unsupervised, it kind of semi-supervised. Why I will come to it, but this is very important for you to understand when to apply classification and when to apply clustering. So is it clear?
So can you repeat in the just, I missed the starting 2 minutes.
Okay, so what happens in the classification, we have been looking at the label has been given to us. Label means the Y, the target variable has been given to us. That
Okay,
if these features are true, then it is an apple. If these features are true, then it is an orange. Okay.
Okay, sir.
You were just asked to discriminate between them given a new point comes in. So that is classification. But when it comes to clustering, the label is missing. So suppose this example I'm talking about the online retailing. So suppose there is a website. Suppose you own Flipkart kind of website, and you want your guys to figure out based on the web browsing history, who is the surgical shopper, who is the enthusiastic shopper, who is the window shopper. Based on the history, you can find out, like suppose you go to Amazon, you click at 100 things, and then finally you make a choice that I will buy it. Some people, I know at least people around me, there are thousands of people who just click on Amazon to kill time. Are you? In fact, I have done that many a times because I do not have anything to do, so I will just check on Amazon किसका कितना price है. So we are like window shopper. Window से बाहर देख देख करके हम लोग, और you can think in the online world, we are the shoppers who goes inside the mall to just get the cool air conditioning. So these data browsing history you have available, but you need to distinguish which one is the surgical shopper, enthusiastic shopper, window shopper, this kind of loyal shopper, these kind of data. There, the label generally is not giving to you. The same kind of example I was trying to give in the machine health monitoring. At this time your machine was working, and at this time your machine failed. In between, it may have gone through different, health of the machine. So it could be a healthy state, then it was a good state, then fair state, then bad state, and finally failure. So transition could be like this. Does that make sense? Or there is an anomaly detection or anomaly, and suddenly it has broken. So the label saying that, okay, this is failed state, this is healthy state, is not given to you. All there are sensor data on vibration, there are sensor data on your current, there is sensor data on your RPM. These numbers are only known. So there you do not have that these numbers are there, then it will be a healthy state. These numbers are there, then it will be a failed state. So do you understand the difference between classification and clustering?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it is okay. Thank you, sir.
One approach could be first you cluster and then you classify. So when you cluster, you will be able to put a label onto it, and then you can use it for classifying the new data. So yeah, so cluster analysis, formally if I define a collection of techniques that see to group or segment collection of objects, observation records into subsets or clusters, such that those within the clusters are more closely related to one another than object assigned to different cluster. So what, simple, very simple layman example, I would say, cubes hai, pyramids hai, balls hai, and these are thrown to you, although you are looking at it like this, but ideally you have features of it, like how many edges are there, what is the shape, what is the color, and all that. And based on that, you will try to cluster them into different baskets. Although not necessarily you will be able to name those clusters. For naming those clusters, domain expertise is required. For example, the machine health monitoring I was telling you. Once you have cluster, okay, there were 3 health states before the failure. Now, depending on 3 health state, you can now go back and look at what were the vibration data, what were the current data. So generally it is expected if vibrations, if there is a fault, vibration will increase or machine will pull more current. So these are kind of observations that domain experts know. So based on that, he can say, okay, this is looking like my excellent health state. This is looks like my fair health state. So naming those clusters again is more of an art than science. So I'm directly jump into how clustering is done. And before that, all of you remember Euclidean distance?
Yes, sir.
It is also known as L2 or 2 norm distance. So distance between 2 point X and Y. Suppose suppose this one x1 comma y1 and this one x2 comma y2. Suppose these are the 2 points, then we can easily find the Euclidean distance using this formula. Can somebody tell me how? What would be the Euclidean distance for this formula? Given x1 and x2?
Root under x1 minus x2 whole square and plus y1 minus y2 whole square.
Very good, great. So you guys remember. कंपनी में काम कर करके दिमाग में भी जंग नहीं लगा है. Nice. So Euclidean distance can be calculated as root under x1 minus x2 square plus y1 minus y2 square. So what K-means clustering does, it is the most popular clustering technique known, and it is very easy to use. Definitely there are issues, but still it is the most popular. So what it does is cluster n items into k partitions where k is less than n. So suppose you have 100 observations, so that is your n, and you want to cluster into, let's say 2 clusters or 3 clusters. So you always, although we put k less than n, but many times when n is very high, I would prefer k much lesser than n. So it defines a prototype in terms of centroid, usually the mean of group points, and typically applied to object in continuous n-dimensional space. So one of the criticism of K-means clustering is it cannot work on the qualitative data or categorical data. It works in continuous n-dimensional space because you need to find the distance between 2 points. So in continuous space, it is easier to find than the other skills. So it is an algorithm for partitioning or clustering n data points into k disjoint subsets containing data points so as to minimize the sum of a squares criteria. And this sum of square criteria का फंडा क्या है कि मान लो मैं ऐसा 2 क्लस्टर बना पाया. These are my crosses and these are my circles. So इस सारे क्रॉसेस का जो मीन होगा, लेट मी चेंज द कलर. ये जो सारे क्रॉसेस का मीन होगा, लेट्स से इट इज समवेयर ओवर हियर, and for this guy it is somewhere over here. So what we try to do, we try to minimize. So suppose this one I say it as mu1 and this one is mu2. So all xi minus mu1 whole square. So intra-cluster distance we are sum of square I'm trying to minimize. Okay, this is what I'm trying to minimize and try to build a, not really I put a circle like this, but I able to find this point centroid, and then I say that how much it is far from each one of the centroid, and based on that we do the assignment whether it will belong to cluster 1 or belong to cluster 2. This is suppose कर लो यहाँ पे एक data point है which is completely unknown to you. So what I will do, I will measure the distance from here and I will measure the distance from here. Whichever is the minimum, that cluster wins, and this data point is assigned to that cluster. Is it clear so far, guys? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Clear, sir.
So the algorithm, the way it works is it initializes k points as a initial centroid. Now, when I say it is semi-supervised, generally, क्या होता है कि when you try to, suppose a data is given to you. Had it been a completely unsupervised technique, it should decide how many number of clusters I will start with. But generally it is assumed that you already know what kind of data it is. So you start with, let's say 2, 3 or 100, whatever number of k you can start with. So k means if I have 3 means 3 centroids. 3 centroids means 3 clusters. So that is the reason we call it semi-supervised, because this k we generally assume some number and start with. But it is not that you have to always find this k based on your experience. There are ways what you can do. You can try with different number of k's, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you try to see which one minimizes the mean squared error. Okay, so based on that, you will be able to find the best k value and you can go. But generally it is falls under semi-supervised method, I would say. So initialize k points as initial centroids. तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि randomly ये data है. Suppose I say there are 3 clusters in this data. So what I will do, I will put a centroid here. I will put a centroid here and I will put a centroid here. And now from each of the centroid, I will calculate the distance of each of the point, and the one which is minimum to closest to the each centroid, I will assign it to that cluster if I'm working with 3 centroids. So from k cluster, by assigning each point to its closest centroid. So जब इस centroid को हम allocate करेंगे, मान लो इतना डेटा इसको मिल गया, इसका इतना डेटा इसको मिल गया और इतना डेटा इसको मिल गया. Do you think the centroid which we have assumed initially remains same? Centroids are nothing but the average of all these points I have assigned to this cluster. So I again need to find the new centroid for this cluster, and this cluster. Again check each data point, and we keep doing it. And there are ways to decide how long you want to do it. Actually, I have already given one of the criteria. Until centroids do not change. Centroid change करने के बाद भी वो data उसी cluster में बार-बार जा रहा है, then we say that we have converged and no need to further do the iterations. So initialization, set seed points randomly. As I said, you can start with 2, 3, 4, 5, and or you have the some idea about the data that it may have 2 cluster or 3 cluster or 4 cluster. Assign each object to the cluster of the nearest seed point measured with the specific distance metric. And when I say specific distance metric, in this case it is Euclidean. I'm talking about Euclidean distance. There are different like Mohan-Lobis distance is there, Manhattan distance is there. We are talking about Euclidean distance. Compute new seed points as the centroids of the cluster of the current partition. The centroid is the center or the mean point of the cluster. Then go back to step 1. Stop when no more new assignments are possible. Membership in each cluster no longer changes. Do not worry, I have very nice simple example to explain it. Let's start from here. So suppose we have 4 types of medicine and each has 2 attributes, pH and weight index. Our goal is to group these objects into 2 groups of medicine. So here you have been given medicine. यार ये लो बहुत ही घटिया कलर है, दिखता ही नहीं. So I have 4 medicine A, B, C and D. और उसका weight है, उसका pH है. So all of them I have weight and pH, weight and pH and weight and pH. So what this 2-dimensional, so this is your weight and this is your pH, and we have just defined represented it as x and y. Do not get confused this y as your regression. This is just the coordinates in this case. So a is 1, 1, so I have put 1, 1 here. Similarly, b is 2, 1, and so on. So without even doing this clustering, this is just a layman classroom example. What can you say? How many clusters are there?
2.
It is very evident, right? Let's see if K means clustering can identify it and properly put. So if you say 2 cluster, which one is which? Cluster 1 is
A and B and C and D.
good. Let's see whether K means clustering is smart enough to assign it to A and B and C and D or not. So what is the first thing you need to do? Initialize. What do you understand by initializing here?
Any arbitrary point.
Any arbitrary points. Let's initialize A and B as that arbitrary point. Okay, I could have taken anywhere, but let's say 2 of the data points is my initial data point. So based on this, I have these are the 2 cluster centroids I'm assuming, A and B itself. What we will do now, we will calculate distance of each of the point from these centroids, and then we will assign it to each of the matrix. So here it has been calculated. So centroid 1 is A and centroid 2 is B. So these are my 2 centroids. This is just I'm representing the data so that we remember what exactly we are trying to calculate. And this is the distance matrix. This is the first kind of initialization. So I'm putting D0. This is my first or 0th iteration. C11 is the centroid for cluster number 1 or group 1, and C2 is centroid for cluster number 2, 1. So what this D0 matrix computes is the distance from each of the cluster. So what is the distance of each point from C1 and what is the distance from each point from C2? So I have tried to explain here for 5 and 4.25. Let's see how we got it. So distance we are trying to calculate for point B from C1. So we already know it is 5 and 4 and C1 is 1 and 1. So 5 minus 1 whole square and 4 minus 1 whole square. This gives me a 5. Similarly, for DC2 is distance of D, that is 5 and 4 from 2, 1. So 5 minus 2 whole square plus 4 minus 1 whole square. So 4.24. So if we calculate for each one, say D A, C1, D A, C2, and so on. B, C. So this is D A, C1. This is D A, C2. This is D B, C1, C2, C, C1, C2. Is this clear what this matrix D0 is?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now you need to make the assignment. Which one you will assign to group 1 and which one you will assign to group 2, looking at this D0. This is your point A. So point A's distance from C1 is 0 and from C2 it is 1. So which it should be assigned to?
A.
C1 group 1.
Group 1. That is straightforward. We have to assign it to group 1 because 0 is because it is on actually.
Yes.
In this case, in fact, it is on the C1. So we will assign it to 1. So here I have written A to C1 and BCD to C2. Why BCD? If you look at B, it is closest to this centroid. Again, between 2.83 and 3.61, this is the minimum. Between 5 and 4.24, this is the minimum. So all of them are assigned to group 1 only. This is assigned to, sorry, group 2, and this one is assigned to group 1. Is this clear, guys, how we have assigned?
Okay, sir.
Very simple technique, but very effective. Now once you have done that, so let's try to find our new cluster center. Okay, so because there is only one element in the C1, so hold on. So there is only one element in the C1, so my centroid 1 did not change, but centroid 2, which has only one element earlier, now has three elements, B, C and D. So we need to take the mean of each one of them. So if you remember, B coordinates are, X coordinates are 2, for C it is 4, and for C it is 5. So 2 plus 4 plus 5 by 3. So average mean of on X, and Y coordinates for BCD are 1, 3 and 4. So 11 by 3 and 8 by 3. So this is your new centroids, which is highlighted with a red color. Did you notice how it has moved from initial C2 to a new C2?
Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. So similarly, now that was initialization because we have started with random 2 points. Now I have improved 2 points. So now again I will repeat the same thing, and I will get a new D1 matrix. Okay, so only thing here changes, if you notice, the C2 coordinates have changed, and based on the C2 coordinates I'm trying to find this D1 matrix. So assign the membership to the object. So A and B, now if you can see, this A and B is the minimum, this and this is minimum. So A and B has been assigned to C1, and C and D has been assigned to the C2. So what we were talking about, we have found two clusters. एक का center यहाँ है और एक cluster looks like this. Again you have to find the new centroids using your averaging mechanism. Is it clear, guys? Any doubt?
Clear,
बहुत ही simple mathematics है. So just to summarize, iterate, calculate distance from object to cluster centroids, assign objects to the closest cluster, recalculate new centroids, stop based on two criteria. I'm saying no changes in the cluster and maximum iteration. When you write R or Python code, many times it asks for maximum iterations. So you can try with 100, 200, 300 and so on. So both the criteria work very fine while converging. Are you guys up for some exercise? I have never given you guys any exercise. Can you try this and tell me which cluster is what? So assign these individuals into two clusters which are defined over variable 1 and 2. Calculator वगैरह है हाथ में? Let's see if you are able to assign it or not. So if you don't have a calculator, you can use your mobile phone. ऐसे बहुत ही simple additions है, so it should not be a problem. I would like to see if you can calculate it quickly. 5 minutes. So I'm giving you 5 minutes to figure out how. Assume k equals to 2.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, 1 and 2 are of one cluster and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are
Great.
cluster.
That is the idea, and great that you have exactly solved it within 5 minutes. Are you are all of you able to find it? Is it there are two clusters? One is one having the individual 1 and 2, and the other one is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If not, you can try at your mental piece, you will find it. So K-means looks very easy, and let me just put all of them together. So what are the different actually let me ask you before, let me ignite your mind a little bit. What are the challenges, or sorry, issues you can one can face with K-means? Actually try to explain with this data. This was an easy example, right? Now suppose variable 1 is in the scale of 1 to 5 and variable 2 is in a scale of, let's say, 10,000s. Can we apply K-means there? Are you understanding? Suppose there is okay, there is a machine which has a vibration sensor and a speed sensor or RPM, let's say a gearbox. So vibration sensor is in the range of, let's say, 1 to 3, and RPM sensor is anywhere between 1000 to 1500. What could be the challenge here? Can you envisage the challenge or the issue with that kind of data?
But in one direction, it will create issues.
Many numbers.
Suppose x1 and x2. x2 is your vibration and x2 is your RPM of a gearbox, right? Now if I have, sorry, RPM is in the range of, let's say, 0 to 3, and this one is in the range of 1000 to 1500. Okay, so when RPM is 3, it is here, it is here, here, and so on. Now tell me whether it will create a problem or not if both the data has different scales. So scale should be similar in all dimensions. If not, we need to rescale the data. So all of them you can proceed with. Generally, if you use any software or any packages, what you will see, the k-means clustering are generally not applied on the raw data. Generally, they are applied on the PCs. Remember principal components? So they are applied on standardized principal component so that the scale of all data is same. As I have said earlier also, if there is a categorical data, k-means does not produce good result. For this one, there is another method, but this is beyond the scope of this class. But if you are interested, it is called k-modes. Not very popular method, very few application, but a good statistical technique. You should look at it. Okay, approach tries to minimize the within cluster sum squares, WCCSS, which I was talking about. Implicit assumption that SSC is similar for each group. So यहाँ पे क्या assumption होता है कि हर जो cluster है उसका जो density है, underlying density, वो similar है. Okay, so implicit assumption that SSC is similar for each group, that each one has similar kind of sum of squared error density. Then only k-means works fine. Otherwise, it does not produce very good results. So WSS क्या होता है एक बार देख लो. The overall WCSS is given by, it is x minus mu I whole square. X belongs to a cluster I. So suppose there are 3 clusters, you will run it over the 3 clusters. Each of the points in the centroids it has been assigned to. The goal is to find the smallest WCSS. So funda क्या है? Suppose there are 3 clusters. ठीक है, इसका mu1 है, इसका mu2 है centroid, और इसका, in fact I was trying to explain it towards the start of the class. These are the 3 clusters with 3 centroids, and these are the data points. So what we are trying to sum from I equals to 1 to 3, x belonging to, so suppose if I calculate the distance, norm of distance, the double is for norm of distance for each cluster and add them up, what should be my criteria? Smallest value or largest value? Guys, should I be looking for the smallest within cluster sum of square or the highest value among the clusters?
Smallest, sir.
Small.
क्योंकि इसका टोटल सम जितना स्मॉल होगा, इसका टोटल सम जितना स्मॉल होगा, दैट मींस दैट क्लोज इट इज टू द सेंट्रॉइड ऑफ द क्लस्टर, एंड तीनों का सम मिला करके आई विल हैव द मिनिमम वैल्यू. And this is what actually, although we have not realized, but this is what we are trying to do when we are assigning the cluster. Okay, so as I always said that you have to optimize something whenever you are trying to fit an algorithm. ठीक है, so now one of the most challenging thing is जो हम लोग randomly choose कर लेते हैं seed value, the initialization. जैसे let me try to explain it with ठीक है. So these are the values. Initially I have put it in 3 clusters with plus circles and cross, but initially when we have data, we just know all these are data. One of the greatest challenge with the randomly defined seed values, suppose there are 3, and if I try to take suppose this one as my excuse me, this one as my first centroid, this one as my second centroid, and this one is a third centroid. Okay, so I'm randomly assigning any three values. The problem is when you assign randomly in a when you are running the algorithm, you really do not know this is how this random assignment looks like. Does that make sense? What you could happen that all the clusters you have initially taken are, suppose all of them are randomly, you have taken some number, all the centroids are here. It will take a lot of time to converge, to find. There are possibilities that it will never be able to come close to this one. So if you are running your k-means clustering, and if you are facing problem with your convergence, what you can do, you can think of changing the seed values. Bottom line, easy to use, need to know k, as I said, semi-supervised, but there are ways you can try different number of k's and see that which one is reducing or which one has the minimum. But again, for that you have to build some 10 models or 15 models or 8 models. So that is always an issue. May need to scale the data. Okay, this is important. Many a times when we do, like many a times, as I said, I work in predictive maintenance. What I do, without even giving a first thought, if I have some data, I will just simply run k-means with some number of clusters. That will give me a good idea of how many clusters are there, what those feature looks like, and then maybe I can go for the more complicated clustering algorithm, or try to see how the data are behaving, data is behaving, and that kind of stuff. So it is always a good initial method to start with. Like in regression, I have said, anytime, even if you know the data is not really good for a linear regression, go ahead and apply linear regression on it. That will at least give you some sense of what are the collinearity, how the data is able to cope up with each one of them, and so on. This is a concern, that is local optima, no guarantee for optimal solution. In the last slide, I was trying to explain that there is a chances. Local optima का पंगा क्या है? This equation which you are looking at, what kind of equation it is? I mean, in terms of function. Some kind of parabolic kind of function, right?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, तो parabolic kind of function में अगर इतना मस्त पैराबोला है तो मे बी यू विल गेट द ऑप्टिमल पॉइंट. लेकिन अगर इस तरह का कुछ पैराबोलिक स्ट्रक्चर बन रहा है एंड इफ यू स्टक हियर, you will never be able to come here, which is the optimal value. You are just stuck here, and because of the seed value you have taken, you cannot get out of this local optima, and it will not able to converge to a better local global optima. So that's the challenge I have with the local optima. No guarantee optima. Repeat with different starting values, as I said. If you are stuck in the local optima, try with different numbers and see. I guess that's all from my side for k-means clustering. I do have some codes, but the discriminant analysis, k-means and everything. But I said in the last 4 or 5 class, I will run all these and discuss with you. So any questions? K-means clustering. I believe this is the easiest you have studied so far, and 8 very popular.
Sir, why scaling is important? Can you repeat?
What before I explain it to you, why do you think whether we should scale the data or not? I will just give an example here and try to explain from that, so that at least it will let you think. Suppose this is one variable, which is 1, 2. Just 1 second, guys. Hello. Yes. Can you call me after some time? I'm in a class right now. X1, X2. x3 ठीक है। मैं तीसरा डायमेंशन सिर्फ दे रहा हूं। सपोज दिस इज 10,000, this is 8,000, this is 15,000, and this is again in the range of, let's say, 50, 70, 90, something like this, and this is in 3 dimension. Now what are your thoughts? If I do not scale this data, what will happen? Let me understand how much you are able to see that problem. Yes. Something like that. Vibration, RPM of the gearbox, and some fan speed that is trying to cool it. क्या पंगा होगा? सोचो थोड़ा सा.
जो डायमेंशन x2 है उसके रेस्पेक्ट में और सारी वैल्यूज का जो स्क्वायर आएगा वो बहुत काफी कम आएगा. सो द सेंट्रोइड विल शिफ्ट ओनली इन वन डायरेक्शन.
So there will be a huge impact on the centroid because of this number. Do you agree?
Yes sir.
जैसे मान लो 1 minus 1,000 स्क्वायर, तो ये पूरा उस डिमेंशन की तरफ शिफ्ट होने का कोशिश करेगा जहां पे सबसे ज्यादा वैल्यू है. डज दैट मेक सेंस? सो दैट इज द रीजन वी ट्राई टू स्केल देम. स्केलिंग का 2-3 आइडिया है. या तो यू स्टैंडर्डाइज इट. व्हेन आई से स्टैंडर्डाइज इट, you find mu and sigma, okay, and then standardize it, so it will become normal 0,1 each one of them. Second idea is normalizes. Divide the whole thing by the highest number it has, or the total sum, or highest number or the total sum. So you will be able to bring it, सारे जो ग्रुप मीन्स होंगे वो तुम्हारा सेम डेंसिटी से आ रहा है, ऐसा होगा. डज इट मेक सेंस? एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस गाइस? No questions? Okay, if there are no questions,
No, sir.
I am done for today. I will send it. In fact, I forgot to send you these slides last time. I'm just sending it right away. So discriminant, classification, and k-means clustering, all the 3 are in the same file. Okay, so I will just send it right away. I'm so sorry, I forgot to send you guys earlier. Thank you guys. Happy Navratri, happy Vijayadashmi in advance, and I will see you a week from, almost a week, 1.5 weeks from now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Happy Navratri to you also.
Happy Navratri, sir.
Happy Navratri, guys.
Happy Navratri, Dr. Akhilesh. Thank you.
हिमांशु जी, हैप्पी नवरात्रि टू यू टू.
Yeah, same to you.
अच्छा, मैं अभी भेज दे रहा हूँ आपका इस स्लाइड्स में, भूल गया था पोस्ट करना.
हाँ, okay.
ठीक है. So guys, I will see you again on 5th of November.
Okay.
Okay. So no classes until 1st of November. I will see you again on 5th of November, and then we will 2 more topics, and then we will start doing the real world problem. Chalo bhai, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Mm.